Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today, and congratulations on your admission to NYU. My name is Camille, and I work on the marketing and communications team in the Division of Enrollment Management here at NYU. And I'm so excited to welcome you to our event today, which is part of our Your Future in Focus series. So today's session is all about arts and media. So you'll be up close and personal with a current NYU student and an NYU alum who is currently working in the field. And our hope today is, not only will you learn more about NYU, but that this session will give you even more understanding of how the amazing opportunities and the incredible staff and faculty here really support our students in helping them leverage their unique skills and talents to secure their future. But before we dive into our conversation, we just wanted to share some housekeeping reminders with you. So as attendees, you all will be muted for the duration of our event, but we absolutely would love to hear from you. So if you have questions, we encourage you to drop them in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. We have some staff members and alumni behind the scenes that will be responding, and we may even choose a couple of them to pose to our panelists live after the conversation. A second reminder is that we won't cover any admissions or financial aid information today, but we imagine that you have questions about those things. So if you do, we have a ton of resources for you. Feel free to visit our website. You can give us a call, send us an email. Our staff is happy to address any questions or concerns that you have about that. So we are going to go ahead and get started. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce you to our admissions ambassador, Noah Weiner, and our special alumni guest, Elena Mejas. So with that, I will turn it over to them to get the conversation started.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Congratulations on your admission. My name is Noah. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a current junior here at NYU, and I'm a double major in Tisch Drama and Steinhardt's Media Culture and Communication.
And hello, everyone. Great to be here with you. Congrats again. I'm Elena Mejas, proud NYU grad circa 2006. I am from New York, and I'm currently an executive director at The Atlantic, where I'm based in LA. It's great to be here with you all. I think we'll go ahead and kick off, Noah, if you're ready. So tell me a little bit more and tell us a little bit more sort of about your journey to NYU, what ultimately kind of drew you to this university, to the campus, to the city, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's what that's what's on everyone's minds right now. But I'd be lying if I didn't say that the fact that it's in one of the best cities in the world was not a huge reason as to why I really, I knew that NYU was my top choice for me. But in addition to that, I knew that I had a lot of passions, and especially with theater, I wanted a top-notch theater training program with the ability to double major in communications. And not a lot of schools offered that. I know that a lot of conservatory style training programs are very strict with the hours that you can stay in and don't allow for double majors. So I knew that by coming to NYU, the flexible schedule and the top-notch classes and professors would allow me to pursue everything that I was passionate about and able to graduate in 4 years while double majoring. So that was something that definitely drew me here. But what about you? Why did you choose NYU when you were here?
Yeah, I mean, similar reasons, and I'm sure hopefully people are agreeing too. There's no greater city than New York for sure, and I'm biased because I'm from there, but still agree. So the opportunities that NYU offers, being so centrally located in the heart of the city, are just unparalleled, right? But I agree with you that sort of sense of agility and flexibility that the school offers is really unique to NYU. Something that drew me there at the time too. In fact, I started off as a double major myself, and was able to kind of really chart my own way forward through classes and coursework and so forth, and really felt the support of the university system behind, whatever career trajectory or even student trajectory I wanted to take. So many more reasons, but I think those are kind of my top two as well.
Yeah, and you bring up a great thing with just the word support. I feel like that's a huge defining factor of NYU, is that no matter what you need or what you're looking for, there's always a support system there to guide you, whether it's the people that you meet. So like I met a group of people my first year here, and I'm a junior now, and I'm still very, very close with them, either through our welcome week events or just through classes or academic support. I mean, my advisors, especially as a double major, have really helped me create a literal treasure map of what I need to do in order to graduate in 4 years. So support is definitely like a huge factor of being an NYU student. No matter what you need, where you are, like you are going to find the resources that will help you through your journey here.
Yeah, that's right. I think the resources on campus are so incredibly helpful in sort of helping to build again your personal trajectory as well as your professional one. Truly, there's so much to take advantage of beyond classwork at NYU, right? So, for instance, you mentioned some clubs. I too was involved in a lot of them. I remember NYU Media Club that may still exist, where I was introduced to peers who had similar interests as me, and we could really kind of lean on one another as we navigated not just student life, but also as we began to make forays into the professional landscape vis-a-vis internships, et cetera. So I think it's really important to surround yourself with creative, driven people so that you can really kind of bounce ideas off one another, use each other as resources, lean on one another. In fact, I remember a friend who I met through the media club at Steinhardt. She and I actually ended up applying for the same internship, our first internship, which was at ABC News at the time. And so, it made that experience even more fun and less sort of daunting to have kind of a friend at your side to experience all of this with. And so, had it not been for that club, who knows if we would have met, who knows what would have happened, but it was just nice to have that sort of support. I would also highly encourage you all as students to take advantage of the Career Development Center. I had a wonderful counselor. You spoke about a guidance counselor and helping you navigate sort of student life when it comes to that sort of career building aspect. I had a really, really tremendous experience, both sort of in helping me find the right internships, but also honing in on my interview skills, which I think is really important to do as a young person, because again, that's a whole new territory for so many and a critical part of future success, to really kind of master the art of the interview and build confidence in yourself before you head out into the quote unquote real world. And I'm sure there are so many other wonderful resources that exist now that perhaps didn't even exist in my time. So as much as you'll want to kind of sink your teeth into your coursework, and that isn't to be discounted at all, I also would encourage you to sort of seek out all the opportunities and services that a school like NYU has to offer.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, to just speak on the career center, like the Wasserman Career Center that we have, the amount of professional development opportunities at our disposal as students is just incredible. Like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I met with a counselor virtually because of the pandemic, and we went through my entire resume, all of my internship applications, and it was just such a great resource to just get a second pair of eyes. Because I know that, I mean, when you're filling out an application, it's just you and you feel like you're working so hard on it, but getting like a second opinion on that, especially from a career professional whose sole job is to help you with that, is super, super helpful and a great resource, just one of the many resources that NYU students have.
Yeah. Noah, you mentioned the virtual aspect, and I know that we're hoping that the world reopens very quickly and folks are getting vaccinated, which is so exciting, but certainly it's made for a different kind of student experience, I would imagine, on campus, having been where you've been the last year, where we've all been, which is right here at home. But I'm curious to hear, do you find a lot of support in sort of the virtual offerings? Are you able to still kind of take advantage of the things that you want to take advantage of across campus via the screen world that we live in now?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't acknowledge how incredibly difficult this transition to a virtual space has been, not just for students, but just for the entire world. But that being said, I think that NYU as a whole has done the best that they truly could have done in transitioning to the virtual space. Of course, as a theater student, in addition as one of my double majors, it was more difficult than I'd say someone whose classes were just lecture based. However, I think that my professors really just came through in the sense that they doubled down on letting us know that they are there for us. They are a resource for us if we need any kind of accommodations or additional help. Given the virtual space, they really made sure that we knew that they were there for us, which is something that I really appreciated. In addition, I am a resident assistant on campus. So living on campus and that transition to a virtual space was a little weird because I couldn't have in-person events for my residents. However, I still found a way to really maximize the time that I had with them in on-campus housing and building that community together. But really, in general, I think that NYU just did the best that they could with with transitioning into like a virtual environment. And I still felt very safe. I felt very cared for. I felt very seen. So I'm very, very appreciative to what NYU did for us during this very difficult time.
Absolutely. Well, I faced it in the professional world as well. So it's it's not easy to navigate, but it sounds like you're getting the support you need. And you mentioned professors too, who I actually think are so approachable at NYU, and they're some of the biggest names. If you guys will Google some of your professors' names, and they will be all over, quoted everywhere, because they're amazing, super accomplished people, to say the least. And I think leaning on your professors is also really important, just in generally speaking, throughout your sort of student life experience, because your professors too know a lot beyond even the academic parts of their work, right? So I had a professor who was closely kind of helping guide me and help ultimately shape my career, and expose me to new people and networks and so forth. So I think to the extent that you can build those bonds and those deep relationships with professors, I think that will go a long way. And again, I think NYU is unique in that I found my professors to all be, like I said, accessible, approachable, and eager to help their students.
Yeah, I mean, I had a professor last spring, so last year, who was telling us about the book that he was writing as he was teaching our course, and it was a course called Censorship in American Culture. And I highly recommend taking this class if any of you are incoming MCC students. It was a very, very informative class. And he was telling us about the process of his research and how he found the information in his book. And he also highly encouraged us to meet with him for office hours, not just to discuss what was happening in class, but also just as a resource for us in case we needed any guidance in our careers or anything at all. He was just really great at making us feel like we could go to him if we needed help. And not to be a subtle flex, but I also had a professor last year who was a Tony Award winner. So that just goes to show you like the amazing professors that you have here at NYU. They're all working professionals. They all are super knowledgeable, and awards or not, they're a great resource for learning.
Yeah, completely agree. I like that you mentioned this class that you took, Censorship in American Culture, which was so topical, obviously. And what I find about NYU, and this speaks to that flexibility and agility and ability to move quickly, is that a lot of courses, you'll find are really of the moment, right? And it's so important because we are living through tremendous change and both incredibly scary, but incredibly, I think, wonderful times. Eventually they'll be wonderful. I believe that. And NYU can kind of, really help ground you in the context around all of this. I would imagine now with sort of diversity and inclusion being such an important issue, NYU probably has a lot of resources in that sense too. I don't know, Noah, if you've experienced that as you've been, both a resident assistant and all the things that you're involved in. I would imagine you have a good insight into that.
Yeah, I think that as a whole, I think NYU does a really good job of making everyone's voices heard to the best of their ability, giving everyone the platform that they need. If something is wrong, either in a class or if a student ever feels like they're in a position to where they're uncomfortable with something, administration always wants them to make them aware of it. And we've had a couple clubs and alliances formed in the past year. I know I can speak for Tish when I say that, in order to bring those issues to the forefront that maybe they weren't aware of at the time. But I think that as a school, NYU is very receptive to that. And if the students come forward with something, then they are willing to listen, which I think is that just goes back to the flexibility. And as you said, NYU is very much the school of the times, like the classes and the experiences that you have will morph to what is going on in the world, because professors and students are very in tune with that, which is something that I really love as a young professional and current student.
Yeah, that's so important. I mean, even going back to 2006, which I know sounds maybe very, very, very long ago to a lot of you guys. But when I was there, 04, 05, 06, part of what drew me to the school, I know we spoke about earlier, and I neglected to mention, was sort of the inclusive atmosphere that has always existed there, I think. Part of that is just to do with New York City, right? You are in the most diverse, melting pot of the world in its truest sense. And NYU really reflects that across the board. So if you're, sort of excited about meeting all kinds of different people, having just an amazing variety of experiences, I think that was what was important for me, as like a variety in life and experience. And NYU really, really shines in that way.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, one of the huge selling points for me was I knew that I wanted to experience the world in college as the world is. So I wanted to meet people that were different from me, both in background, where they're from, their life experiences. And you bring up melting pot, and that's exactly what NYU is, and New York City as a whole. You can walk down the street and there's just so many people from all walks of life just all together in this like huge city with a ton of people. But I think that's one of the best things about it. And NYU really reflects that. I mean, all of my friends are from different places. We all have different life experiences, but I've learned so much from the people that are different from me, that was one of the main reasons why I wanted to go to a school that reflected that. And that's how the world is. Everyone is different. You're going to meet people with different backgrounds, and it'll help you grow as an individual, which is what I really appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely. How are we doing on time? Sorry, I just realized.
I think no, I think we're doing well. I think we have a lot more time left. But one thing that I was wondering for you was, while you were a student here, what was something that stood out to you, whether it was a certain class, a certain professor, an opportunity that you had that really impacted your growth as an individual and you still carry with you today in your professional life?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's so hard to narrow that down to any one thing or even 10 things. I was thinking about this before. In fact, I'm on a group text on my phone it's called NYU Girls, literally. And they're my best friends. And truly, I met three, arguably four of my closest friends to this day at NYU. And I think that to be able to build those lifelong relationships and bonds with people that, carry you through all the trials and tribulations of college life and thereafter, it's so important. And maybe that's not necessarily unique to NYU, but I will say that I think that the experience of being in New York City as a young person, which is new to so many, really kind of brings people together, because you are experiencing campus life unlike any other. I do have to say, and you'll probably agree, Noah, that NYU is so, it stands apart so much from any other college, because it is in the heart of New York City, even more so than Columbia or any other surrounding, school in the metro area. Like, you are in the heart of it, and you're in the best neighborhood possible. You're in Greenwich Village. Like, who doesn't want to live there, in my opinion, forever if I could. But I think it's that, the stimuli that New York City brings with all the amazing things really kind of, encourages people to sort of lean on one another, as I've been saying, and build those relationships and those bonds. And whether that's through, your professors and other resources, but also just in the friends that you make. I think it's so important to have that support network as you're experiencing all the wonderful things at NYU and New York City, as I said. So that's something that, again, I still have to this day, these amazing relationships that I do really owe to that college experience. I will also add, and we haven't talked about this, studying abroad, I actually think is something to take advantage of. And NYU has some of the like the most options that I've seen at a school in terms of where you can go. And I think that's even, again, more robust than it was when I was there. So I studied abroad in London. I had friends who studied abroad all over the place as far as like Abu Dhabi and China and so forth. So I highly encourage you guys to take advantage of that too, because I think that that's really a unique, again, college experience, and NYU just does it so, so well.
Yeah, I 100% agree with, like, I echo everything you said, both with things to do in the city, meeting the people, and also study away. It's just a great opportunity for any student. But unfortunately, it is time for us to wrap up. But as a final question, I wanted to ask you, what advice do you have for these eager NYU students, these baby violets that are joining us?
Baby violets, I love that. I don't think we were called that then. Can I still be? I guess I'm an adult violet, but I love that. You know, again, so much advice. And Noah, you and I could probably sit here all day talking about this, but I think taking advantage of all the resources that you can, whether it's taking an unexpected elective or meeting with your career and guidance counselors or studying abroad, as we've been talking about, just remain open to all the possibilities. I think we're told typically to think very carefully about every decision we make as we enter college, right? And somewhere along the way, we sort of believe that the stakes are just so high and every decision is so important. And, you know, to an extent that's true, but honestly, you can in fact always change your path and change course and change direction. And that's actually something that you should take advantage of. As Noah said earlier, you know, the school is flexible and agile, and that's so important. And you should be as well. So I would say, you know, don't pigeonhole yourself. Don't be afraid to kind of go outside your comfort zone and really use the university experience as that blank canvas to chart your own unique path.
Yeah, I completely agree. Take advantage of all the opportunities that you have here. But just to tack on a little thing, in the same vein, one of the best pieces of advice I got my first year at NYU was just that comparison is the thief of joy. And just keep that in mind, because you are the one in the driver's seat. You are in charge of your own destiny, as the cliche goes. But it's really important to keep in mind that you are making the decisions for yourself. And the minute that you compare your experience to someone else's as like, oh, I'm not doing this or I'm not doing this, you're doing what is good for you and what is right for you. And that's what's the most important. So I think that the best piece of advice I can give you is take advantage of the opportunities, but only the ones that you know will serve you the best, not just because everyone else is doing them. But if you take all of that, then you are in for the best 4 years here at NYU.
For sure.
Amazing. Thank you, ladies, so much for your candor. That was incredible. It was like watching two old friends just chatting it up. And Elena, please let me be a part of the NYU Girls group text, because it sounds like a ton of fun.
You're in.
Awesome. So we have time for just a couple of questions from our audience. And I think this is one that both of you can probably respond to. So Maya, who's tuning in, has some questions about collaboration across different majors, among students, across majors and schools. So can you talk about any opportunities there are for students who are in different majors to kind of collaborate and work together?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, some of my best friends are NYU film students, and they recruit me and my friends to be in their student films all the time. And it's fun for me because then that gives me footage for a reel to put together for my acting work. And then it also gives me production experience as a writer and in media. It's just a great opportunity for me to collaborate with my friends who are super, super talented. And that's just one of the many ways that you can work together across majors to create a project that really benefits all of you.
Yeah, absolutely. I had similar experiences. I did a lot of student films. I wasn't an actor at the time, but I did a lot of student films, which were so fun. And actually, I have a very good friend, not on the NYU girls thread because he's a guy, but there should be an NYU guys thing, or NYU no matter what gender you are. So he was at Gallatin when I was at Steinhardt, and actually asked me to come work on like a research project with him that he and his kind of he and his peers were working on. And that was so fun. And again, so outside of what my day-to-day life was, because Gallatin, they were kind of building their own like framework for studying and so forth. And so, yeah, there was plenty of opportunity to kind of cross-pollinate, if you will, with sort of people across all the schools. And you end up meeting people across schools. I think you don't think of it as like, okay, you go to, Steinhardt, or you go to Tisch, or you go to Stern, and that's the only people you know. Not at all. I think NYU does such a good job of kind of integrating everyone, and everyone meets people from across schools and majors and interests and so forth. And that's kind of one of the best parts, is like, again, you're exposed to such a broad range of people and their interests and so forth. And that's all part of that, like, be open to all of it, right? Because you never know when you might hear something from another student that's really interesting or strikes your fancy, and you can kind of, experiment with that more.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think, the interdisciplinary focus that NYU has carries over into the work that the students do, which is incredible. And it's funny that even though there is some time between when, Elena was here and now that Noah's here, that still remains something that's really, really important at the university. So we are going to just take one more question. It's from Asu, who is asking about expectations for employment after graduation. So Elena, if you can talk a little bit about your experience, what it's like in the media or the film and TV industry to kind of have professional opportunities after you graduate.
Yes. Great question. And I could talk about this for, more than the 2 minutes that I'm going to allow myself to talk about this for. But suffice to say, I truly say this, so genuinely, and from the heart, that NYU prepares students better than any school. I truly feel that way. And it's part of the reason why I went there. I knew that going in, and it played out in reality. I think that, sort of, job markets notwithstanding, again, you will have the opportunities that you need, and you can lean on all the resources that NYU has to help kind of get you there, right? And that's why I really encourage internships. I think internships are so important, especially if you think about a career in media or in New York, in the city all around. Like, internships are really, really critical. It's where you're going to network. It's where you're going to meet potentially your future employer. If not your future employer, they might introduce you to that person. So I highly, highly recommend taking advantage of internships along your way at NYU. And like I said, when I was there, again, I'm sure this is true to this day, there were just an incredible amount of resources to help get you in the door. And most employers across the country, and probably the world, love to see NYU on a resume. And chances are someone from NYU works at that company, right? So I just highly encourage folks to just really lean into getting internships, talking to guidance, career counselors across NYU. I think those will be super, super helpful as you kind of begin your professional journey.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I know it's something that is on the minds of a lot of people. People are really worried, especially, given the state of the world right now. But I think your advice is super helpful, just reminding people that there are a ton of resources, there are people to help you, and the alumni network. I think this is a great example of how we can, our network is so rich and people are connected and happy to help you, propel you into the next stage of your career. So thank you so much for your advice. That is all the questions that we have time for today, but thank you again, Noah and Elena. That was amazing, an incredible conversation. I hope everyone in the audience, really enjoyed our session and had a chance to learn a little bit more about NYU and some of the things that you might be able to look forward to as a student. And we would love for you to join us at our next event in the Your Future in Focus series. It's scheduled to take place on April 14th at 4 p.m. Eastern. And we'll be chatting with a current student and an alumni about their journey from NYU to the business industry. Until then, we encourage you to check out all of our offerings on NYU Home Base, where you can find some more information about all of our upcoming events, and make sure that you follow us on social media at Meet NYU on all channels. With that, thank you all so much for joining us today. Again, congratulations, and we hope to see you in the fall. Thanks, everyone.